Hello Sharks, this is video 6. We're talking about the Huck. We're talking about where we should be throwing our Hucks, when we should be throwing our Hucks, and a little bit about how to throw our Hucks. Now, what is a Huck? A Huck is a long distance throw. In our case, we're going to say 40 yards or more. That is a Huck. So, what should we be doing? Where should we be doing? All of that comes down to defenders and their circles of influence. We've talked about that a little bit in the past. We're going to talk a little more about it now. You'll notice that as you progress down the field, that is, as our defenders get further from the disc, their circles of influence will grow. The defender will have more time to get to the disc because the disc is going to be in the air longer because it's flying further. So if we look at our two nearest defenders, they have very small circles of influence. The disc is going to fly there very fast. And as we go further down the line, their circles are going to get a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger. As we get out even further, they're going to start expanding even faster because our longer throws tend to loft more and float more, are high in the air. They take a longer time to come down, so the defender is going to have a long time to get there. We try not to throw anything that's very floaty, but we know it happens. So, remember this. The circles of influence grow as you go down the field. The defender does not need to be as close to effectively cover someone further down the field. Here's a mistake that a lot of new players make. New players do this all the time. It drives me crazy. We don't need our team to do it. We don't need any experienced player to do it. The attacker is going to run straight out towards the end zone. The defender now is hanging off of them. They're hanging on the open side and they're hanging short. They're poaching. The attacker now is looking around. His defender is very far away, thinks he's open, so he's going to stand in the end zone. He's going to jump up and down, wave his hands, look at me, I'm open. This is not a good situation. Any throw that's going to come to that side of the field is going to be a big hammer, is going to be a big blade, is going to be something very ugly and something very lofty. It's not an easy throw, it's not an easy catch, it's very easy to defend. Anything that's going to be a decent Huck is going to come right over top of the defender, and he's going to be able to make a play on it. Because, if we look at his circle of influence, it's huge. He's so far downfield, so far away from the play, that his circle of influence is massive. He can get almost anywhere because the disc is going to take so long to get there. So even though this attacker thinks he's wide open, he's still inside of a circle of influence. So if you make this deep cut, if you go deep, if you strike at that end zone, and the disc isn't coming to you, your handler is not throwing that Huck, you need to clear out and come back to the stack. Just like any other run or any other cut you're going to make. If the throw isn't coming, we need to clear and go back to the stack. We need to get ourselves out of the way, and we need to get our defender out of the way. So what are some other things we shouldn't do with the Huck? Hucks should not go straight up the field. If you throw it straight up the field, you're going to throw right over top of the stack, and you're probably going to hit somebody, either in the head or at somebody's outstretched arms. There are some tall people that play. They'll block your throw. Hucks usually do not go into the break zone. Why is that? Because if it's going into the break zone, it's going to be higher, loftier, uglier. It's going to take longer to get there. Our defender is going to be able to make a play on it because he's got so much time to get there. There are times when we can throw Hucks into the break zone, but those are going to be when our defender is poaching way off of us, or they're going to be in zone defense scenarios, and we'll talk more about those later. But if we're playing against man defense and our defenders are relatively tight to us, you're probably not going to get a Huck into the break zone. So where should our Hucks be going? Hucks go to corners. That's how it works. They don't go into the middle of the field, they go to corners. And they go to open side corners. So, This side, we have a force left, so it should be going into the defender's left or the offense's right corner. If we switch the force, we switch the corner. That's where your Hucks should be going. Anything else is going to be an ugly throw that's lofty, or is going to get picked off, or both. Here's a scenario where we have our defenders poaching slightly off of their guards. This is pretty typical of something you'll see. Notice our furthest defender back is poaching deep. He's wanting to take away that big Huck. That's pretty common for players that don't know the handlers and don't know the cutters. They're going to take the deep cut away, the deep Huck away, because it's the most dangerous throw. In some cases, you'll have them poaching short, or you'll have them not poaching at all and right on you. Those are different cases where you can run deep straight out of the stack. But in this case, we're going to say, with him right there, we're not going to run deep out of the stack. So our stack 5 is not going to be our deep cut. He's got his defender right there taking away that deep option. There's not going to be a Huck coming to him. He's not going to be able to create separation. So instead, he's going to cut in short and pull his defender in with him. That's going to leave room for our stack 3, or our stack 4, and our stack 3 to look for their deep options. So here we see our stack 5 has cut in short, his defender has come in with him. The defenders on stack 4 and stack 3, they haven't gotten to their positioning to poach that deep look yet. They're still working their way up the field. This is an opportunity now to take a deep look. This is an opportunity to make that deep cut and try and create some separation. Notice we still have our original stack 5 clearing out of the lane. Because if our stack 4 goes for a deep cut and he doesn't get it, our stack 3 can cut right underneath and go for a short, or our stack 4 can clear and our stack 3 can then go for another deep look. So here's another example of what it could look like with a strike cut. This is the way we're going to get most of our Huck points. Most of our long distance Hucks are probably going to come out of strike cuts and out of what we call power position. We have our stack 5 cut in short. Then we're going to have two things happen almost simultaneously. Our stack 4 is either going to follow our stack 5 and do a very similar cut with a fake deep and a cut in, and that's just going to move the disc up the field in a regular progression. Or our stack 4 can cut to the break side. When that happens, our handler can recognize an opportunity for a strike cut. So our handler is going to move our disc right up to that first cutter and is going to immediately take off following the disc, go up line towards the sideline for a strike cut. Now, when our first cutter, who now has the disc, recognizes this situation, he's going to hear him calling out, strike, strike, strike. We can do a little short pass up the line. Now our first handler has the disc in a power position. That is, he's moving forward and he can catch it while moving forward. He doesn't have to stop. He doesn't have to turn around. He doesn't have to reset. He can grab the disc and chuck it down the field. As soon as we see that happening, our stack 3 is cutting deep. He's got separation. Our handler's in power position. Our handler's defender is lagging way behind him. We can quickly flip him the disc into the end zone. That is how we're going to get most of our points off of Hucks. They're going to come from power position plays. They're not always the best thing to set up. They're not always possible to set up. But if we have the opportunity to go for a power position play, look for it. It's going to come from our handlers recognizing situations where it can work and taking the initiative for that strike cut. The downside of the strike cut is if they don't get that disc, they need to clear out of there immediately because they're clogging the lane. So, we need to recognize when power position plays are possible because they're very, very useful, but if done improperly, they can cause a lot of problems. The other thing, the other way that we get lots of points off of our Hucks is off of defenses making big mistakes. You'll see markers jumping and lunging and getting tripped up on their own feet, breaking their ankles. Here we have our marker forcing left. What does it mean when you're forcing left? That means that if the handler throws the disc left, you don't care. If he hucks it to the left side, you don't care. If he swings it to the left side, you don't care. If it's a short upline to the left side, you don't care. If he's going to throw it left, if he's going to throw it to the open side, let him. Don't let him throw to the break side. We call that getting broken. Don't get broken. So here's something that new defenders or new markers do occasionally, and smart handlers can cause this, but we don't want this to happen. So a smart handler will fake a big throw, they'll fake a big open side huck. Our defender, our marker, will think to himself, oh no, I have to stop that big huck. Wrong. You don't have to. It's going to the open side. Let it happen. But instead, he's going to lunge over to try and stop it. He didn't realize that this was a fake. So our handler can quickly cut back across. Our marker is way out of position. All of our defenders are way out of position to cover anyone. So we now have a cutter wide open in the break zone. We can flip him a short pass, and we now have a cutter wide open towards the end zone on the break side. So this is the other easy way to get points off of our hucks, off of our long distance shots. Don't let this happen to you as a defender. Don't let this happen to you as a marker. And if you're the handler, see if you can cause it to happen. If you can, great. If not, we'll have to look for some of our other options. That's all for now. Our next videos will be covering some of our new offensive sets and some new defensive sets.